To me, it's like almost like a game. When I run into negative people, if it's a waiter, if it's a flight attendant, if it's, just anybody, and if I hear negativity, sometimes even in grocery stores, I will walk up to people. I'll see a woman really angry at her child and screaming, and I'll just walk up and stand close and see if just by standing there, if I can radiate out a different kind of energy. And very often, I can see the whole relationship changing with waiters and with flight attendants and people that I'm dealing with, or even friends and so on. For me, it's always an opportunity to see if I can, by the end of our conversation or whatever interaction that we have, if I can convert them. Because, in the prayer of St. Francis, which I always said, I wrote a book based on that prayer called A Spiritual Solution to Every Problem, and we have the CDs on that at Hay House. But basically, I always thought of that as a 11th century technology more than anything else. That he said, where there is, make me an instrument of thy peace, where there is doubt, faith, where there is despair, hope, where there is darkness, life, where there is sadness, joy. In other words, if you can bring joy to sadness, if you can bring love to hatred, if you can bring pardon to injury, what you're really doing is bringing a different energy to it. It's like when you walk into a room and you turn on the light, the darkness, disappears, because all it takes is just a little bit of light to make darkness go away. You don't have to go in and look for some light and try to find it and then talk to the darkness and say, okay, darkness, you can't exist here and let me talk to you. Darkness dissolves the moment that you bring light to it. And so does hatred. It dissolves when you bring light to it. It's an energy kind of shift. And this is the way I look at all of the negativity that comes into my life, whoever it may be. And I see it around me on a regular basis. I was talking to my daughter, Serena, last night, who made me a wonderful Father's Day dinner, which I tweeted about or whatever on Twitter. But she was talking about how somebody else was so judgmental, and she just hated the idea. It was an ex-boyfriend she was talking about, and he judged this and he judged that. And I just stopped her and I said, what are you doing right now, about him? In other words, it's like, let's bring a different kind of consciousness to, this old boyfriend, rather than, and as she began to talk about it and think about it, she said, it's exactly right. It's exactly what I was doing, the very same thing I'm criticizing him for. She didn't get angry. It wasn't a long interchange and exchange or whatever. It's just bringing a different consciousness. Very often, you don't even have to say anything. You just have to bring light. I've always used the quote I read someplace about Jesus. They said that when he would enter a village, just his presence in the village and nothing more would raise the consciousness of the entire village. And when people have very, very high energy, and they bring that energy to spiritual energy, the highest and fastest energy in the universe, when you bring the presence of that to any kind of negativity that is around you, you elevate it. And the problem that most people have with negative people is that they blame the negative people for bringing them down. But that's inconsistent that's counterintuitive to what the prayer of St. Francis teaches. That the reason that negative people bring you down isn't because of their negativity, it's because you join them and become equally negative as well. That is, you hate someone for hating you. You get angry at someone for being angry at you. You get depressed because someone around you is depressing. And instead of maintaining and hanging on to your high energy, which will help that low energy to dissolve and dissipate, like when you bring light to darkness, instead you take on the darkness and you become some of the darkness yourself, and then you just expand the darkness or the negativity. And that's all you have to do to keep in mind over and over and over again, that it isn't them, it isn't their negativity that has any impact on me at all. I think of it as a wonderful opportunity to practice radiating out a higher spiritual energy and seeing other people around me be converted.
Yeah, I've heard you say in the past that you have liked to do that at airports.
I was sitting next to a woman on the airplane coming over here from Maui, just on my way back here from my week-long tour of the country doing PBS and QVC and everything. Very nice lady. She was 50 years old. She was retiring from a big company and so on. And she recognized me, and she was asking me who I liked, in the way of celebrities. And I was telling her about some of the people that were really very, like I was telling her, Dinah Shore particularly, someone who, she used to have a show that I did for 87 weeks back in the 80s, and how wonderful and kind and so on that she was. And then she said to me, who don't you like? And who are the celebrities out there that are really, bastards or whatever? And I just, my instant response was, I don't think like that. And she said, what do you mean? I said, I don't think about people that I don't like because I never encounter anyone I don't like. And it was like, I was thinking about, that's one of the ways to stop gossip. That's one of the ways to stop the negativity that is out there, is just to remind people, whoever it is out there that I have met, even if I had a difficulty with them, they were teachers for me. They weren't someone that I would walk away and then criticize and judge.